I don't think they're ever gonna figure it out.
You sure that's a dog?
Yeah.
Rough.
One.
Lilo and Stitch 2025 is directed by Dean Fleischer Camp and is the latest in the long line of Disney live-action remakes. Now, this is a weird one for me because I kept going back and forth on it, thinking about the elements of the movie and putting them all together, and I think just as a whole package, I have to ultimately say that I didn't like it. I, like a lot of fans out there, wanted this one to be the one where they figured it out. We come out of the movie and go, yes, they finally did it, because it looked like it was going to be. And look, I won't knock the movie too much, because the elements in the trailer that showed how this one could be promising, this one was going to be the one, are in the movie. There's solid performances, there's good writing here, there's good dialogue, but it still has that Disney live-action remake stink on it. This one, unfortunately, has the same problem all of these live-action remakes do, where when it comes to the iconic moments or the iconic lines, it just rushes through them. You know that really thrilling opening sequence in the original animated movie? They just chop that up. It's just done quick, which is so strange to me, because Disney, as of late, whether you like what they've been putting out or not, has done some really cool things with projects in space. Guardians of the Galaxy, Star Wars, they know how to make it look good. And this could have been really awe-inspiring. This could have been really cool. But as it stands, they just kind of speed through it. The whole sequence was like, he took the red one. A lot of this movie's editing is like that. It just tries to rush through the stuff that you know so they can introduce the newer stuff. But that doesn't make any sense, because this movie is nearly 2 hours long. You could have let things breathe a little bit more, just like the animated film did. It doesn't need to be exactly the same, because then what would be the point? But if you're gonna make changes while still trying to give us the nostalgic feelings, you need to let those moments breathe. Now look, I understand that attention spans have been dwindling these days, and have been for a very long time, but that doesn't mean that you as a big studio need to contribute to the problem. It's so insulting that a big budget movie like this, from a studio that should know better, it doesn't trust the audience enough to just sit and bask in a moment. If you're someone that edits, whether you edit movies or YouTube videos or whatever, you can tell that there are some shots that if they were just left to linger for just a little bit longer, they would be so impactful. They would be so heavy emotionally, but there's no time to just consume anything, because it's just cut, 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 cut. Every 3 to 5 seconds. It was so annoying.
Come here. And fond embrace, until we meet again.
No! Hey, Al! You're just jealous because I'm pretty!
Now, on the smaller side of the negatives of this movie, Jumpa and Pleakley are awful in this. To clarify, I'm talking about the characters specifically. I say that the way I do because while Zach Galifianakis and Billy Magnussen are actually doing really well with the material that they're given, the material that they're given sucks. Jumpa and Pleakley as characters are nothing in this. And it's actually astounding that Zach Galifianakis and Billy Magnussen were actually able to pull off such solid performances from what they were doing. You know those kid movies where it has like the one kid that's like, the naughty little kid who likes to just destroy stuff, and there's the big bad bully adult that's just trying to ruin their fun, and they're big, dumb, and bumbling. that's kind of what they make Jumbo and Pleagley in this, and that's all that they are. They come in and they do some kind of like, physical comedy thing or say some kind of bad pun, and then that's really it. Whereas in the original, Jumbo and Pleagley had character moments. There's nothing like that here. With Billy Magnuson, who I am not that familiar with, seems to play this kind of role a lot, is what I've heard. And he portrays Pleagley just fine, but again, it's from nothing. But Zach Galifianakis, who I am very familiar with, this kind of role doesn't suit him. He doesn't do the big bumbling, bully adult. That doesn't suit him at all. And the fact that he decided to do just his normal voice for Jumba was an odd choice. It doesn't fit at all. And it's kind of crazy to me because he's a talented guy. He can do different personas and accents.
Where is your wife, Barry? Tell us. Where is she?
Your utensils, I want to talk to you about something real quick. I wanted to take this time to say that we're going to be under a lot of media scrutiny.
A lot of this movie is actually like that. It banks on you having seen the original, which I guess more than likely if you're seeing this, you most likely did. But it banks on you seeing the original and already understanding the roles of familiar characters. So like Jumbo and Pleagley, you remember them as the two quirky aliens that were chasing after Stitch. That's it. And here they are. And this time they have human disguises, which is fine. I'm not saying that that's a bad thing. But here they are. They have human disguises. That's the only new thing about them. Carry on. Then you have Cobra Bubbles, where it's like he was an FBI agent formerly in the original movie turned social worker. But in this, it's like, well, you already know that he's an FBI agent, right? So why don't we keep him an FBI agent and do a different social worker and then have him come in as a social worker to co-opt with Stitch and everything. Look, changes are fine. I'm not gonna do the take of you have the blueprint, just make it exactly the same, because I hate that take. If you were to make it exactly the same, what would be the point? Changes are fine, but they have to make fucking sense, okay? If you're going to have this other social worker that's a completely different character and have them be the social worker for Lilo and Nani, you could have it be that Cobra Bubbles is like her boss or something. Like, oh, Lilo and Nani's case is just driving her up the wall, so she needs to refer to her boss, Cobra Bubbles, who's secretly an FBI agent or something. Not this weird, convoluted thing where, like, he's an FBI agent, but, like, he knows that Lilo and Nani are, like, involved with the aliens or something somehow, so he co-opts Tia Carrere's character's case on Lilo and Nani to get closer to them. It didn't make any sense at all. Like, why would he go about it this way? Why, narratively, why did you write it this way? And, look, I like Courtney B. Vance. He's a fine actor. But I also don't see any reason why this also still couldn't have been Ving Rhames, who's still very much alive and still acting. I don't know. But that's just whatever. But there was a lot of things like that where it banks on you haven't seen the movie, so it either rushes through things that you already know to get to new things, and then the new things just have no effort or don't make any sense. When you try to rush the nostalgia and rush the new elements and then mix them together, you get this half-assed project that's just kind of like, and it even makes it less sense to exist than if it was just a shot-for-shot remake. You know, without all of the nostalgic things put into it, even if they were taken out, this probably still wouldn't be a great movie. It would still be just good or okay. You know, it was originally supposed to be a Disney Plus original and go straight to streaming, which, yeah, I could see that. But you could at least had something that was good and not frustrating. Okay, so I admittedly got a little heated there, but let's move on to the positives. As I mentioned at the top of the review, there are positives to talk about with this movie. There is genuine heart and effort here. If this was released under any other era of these Disney live-action remakes, the lines that we all know from the original would have been read like, "What about Ohana? Are you sure that's a dog?" The guy that plays David in this, he's giving one of those earnest, like, Disney Channel original kid movie performances, but it's not bad. You can tell he cares. And when he goes, "Are you sure that's a dog?" you can hear the confusion in his voice. He actually is emoting. You know what he's supposed to be feeling. In any other Disney live-action remake, when they just kind of blurt out the iconic lines, you don't know what emotion they're supposed to be conveying, but the movie expects you to know what emotion is supposed to be conveyed, because you've seen the original, right? All the work we need to do has been done. You need to fill out the rest. The writing and the direction and the acting in here is actually a lot better than all of the earlier ones. Where this movie actually gets its things right the most is where it needed to, and that's in Nani, Lilo, and Stitch. If you're a fan of Stitch in the original, you'll like him just fine here. He's exactly the same. The only difference is he gets a couple of new things to tear up, but he's no different. He's just Stitch. And he looks really good too, especially compared to the other aliens in this that are like mid-era PS4 type graphics looking. They look really rubbery, but he looks really good. He looks like he could exist. He has like a wet nose and wet eyes and, different looking teeth, and has fur that like sways with the wind and everything. He looks really excellent. I think they got a really good little actress for Lilo here. She's really likable and she's really cute. They did with her though what I thought that they would, is they give her a bit more of an attitude. She's a bit sassier. And that's typical for a movie like this, because when a little kid is like the lead in something that's supposed to be a comedy, the movie always devolves to them having like a snarky attitude. It equals as funny, I guess. But the way she performed it was fine, so it's not that big of a deal. She was likable in this. Nani was also likable and performed really well. The only thing is that compared to animated Nani, she's a bit more negative, and that rubbed people the wrong way, but it didn't really bother me that much, because with this being live action and them trying to make it more grounded, it made Nani's situation more relatable. We've all been there. We've all been in a situation where we're a young adult and we're just trying to make things work, and everything is against us, preventing us from making that happen. What lies here is the big issue of their bond. She and Lilo's bond just doesn't feel as good as the animated sisters bond. Yeah, they're like when they have that bond, you can feel it, but it's just not conveyed as well. The movie's execution doesn't allow for that. Take, for example, their fight after the first inspection. Let's compare them. In the animated one, after Cobra Bubbles leaves from the inspection, Nani turns around angrily. It cuts to Lilo. It's silent for a second, and she screams and starts running away. And that comedic timing works. You feel that emotion because you understand what's happening. The movie allows you to feel that emotion. Here, after the social worker leaves, Nani speaks her emotions. It's like the movie doesn't trust you enough to actually get that. After she leaves, she goes, "I'm gonna kill you," and starts chasing Lilo. It's like, we didn't need that. We didn't need Nani to say that, because we understand that Lilo almost ruined the first inspection, or rather she did. So I understand that they were trying to do the whole play fight thing and try to get a laugh out of you with the line reads, but a moment like that worked because we were allowed to see it roll out. We didn't have to hear it. We could see it roll out. And that is this main movie's problem, is that despite its positives like that, where the line reads are fine, the performances are great, it's just executed in a way that is kind of intelligence insulting. So you're watching this movie and you're going on this roller coaster ride of going between laughing and being frustrated, and you're just going back and forth between that, enjoying the good moments and then getting frustrated when they're drowned out by the poor execution and the editing. And then the climax hits. And it was almost as if a different crew altogether was making the movie. Look, I understand that there's a lot of you out there that just vehemently hated or did not like this movie. And what I'm going to say next may bother you. But I feel like this climax, not the third act entirely, but the climax itself, actually matched the level of heart that the original had. They're doing their own thing because Jumba's the villain. There is no Gantu, but Jumba's the villain, and the execution of this climax with certain things that happen really tugged at me. I really felt as if this really worked on a whole nother level. I was wondering, where the hell was this execution this entire movie? What happened? Because they play around with, Stitch being too dense to survive in water, and Lilo can't get out of the water. Stitch lets her go, and it actually lets you sit with the emotion of that when he makes her let him go and he's falling down to the bottom. And when Nani and David go out to save her, Lilo is in hysterics. And there's this moment with Nani where she actually comes around and does something that she feels is meaningful in helping Lilo and Stitch in that moment. And I don't want to describe it because it really got to me in a positive way. I feel like it was a great moment, and I feel like the performances were there. The little girl playing Lilo really pulled it out of the park with that. And again, many of you out there will disagree with me, but I really feel like if you're looking for the heart and charm and just the level of quality of the animated movie, it's in this last 15 minutes. But unfortunately, a really phenomenal last 15 minutes to your movie doesn't save it, especially when the initial hour 45 or however much was actually not very good and was just mediocre to kind of great but bogged down by studio notes. Yeah, this was not good. It's one of the better ones, but that's not from a very high bar, so take that as you will. And I really wanted to like it, and I did at first walking out of the theater, but ultimately, yeah, this is just another bad one, unfortunately. It's not the worst thing that's ever happened to humanity. Like, the internet always makes something that is just okay out to be, which that's what this is. It's just okay. And if you took out the original movie's elements, if you took the original movie out of the equation, it would still be just okay. And that's really it. At the end of the day, it's like with how bad a lot of these have been, if not all of them have been, that's where you have to land. And I don't think they're ever going to figure it out. The next one is Moana. That's the next one. And I don't know if there's no point in anticipating it and wondering, is it going to be good? Is it going to be bad? It's just going to be lazy. Moana is just a little over 10 years old. Why are they doing that? For the money. That's what these all are for, is just a lazy, cynical cash grab. And I really wanted this one to not be a lazy, cynical cash grab. So I don't care how effective that Moana trailer looks. This movie is not going to be any good either. All we can hope for is that, like Lilo and Stitch 2025, it's at least decent and okay, but we're never going to get a great one of these. But I hand it off to you. If you saw this one already, what did you think of it? What do you think about these Disney live-action remakes in general? Do you feel like, you know what? They have a worse rap than they deserve. Yeah, they're kind of lazy, but they're fine for what they are. Or do you hate them? Do you feel like they just shouldn't exist at all? They spit on the original movies, and people who support them just don't know what they're doing. Let me know down in the comments. Let's talk everything Lilo and Stitch, Disney, and movies in general down there. And for better or for worse, I'll see you in the next one. Take care. Insulting when a big budget movie like this doesn't respect